No, just kidding. Well, just once. I got to talking and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. No. Okay, so I'm gonna first tell our viewers, in case if anybody is watching, that they can stream us on Facebook Live or on YouTube, or if they don't catch us like on our live right now, they could view us on our YouTube page, and then I always post our video right after, because it sometimes StreamYard doesn't post it right away until like tomorrow or like in a couple hours, but I get on and I post it right away on the Facebook, and I'll send one to you so that way you could show your family or whatever, you know what I mean? Because sometimes people are like,
Yeah.
oh well, what is a podcast? Like a podcast is literally, it's like people just talking back and forth about a subject, you know what I mean? And that's what we're doing. So okay, and then I'm gonna let you introduce yourself and how much time you did and where you did your time. Like whether it being, because I remember you were at CCA and then we split, and you guys, I believe you were at Western, yes?
So I got out right before they moved to Western and Springer, and then I went back in
Oh,
2016,
okay.
2017 actually,
And you
and then I
did.
was at Western. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because I seen the pictures and I said, I think this is Western, because you've been posting a lot of good pictures. I was like, these are good. Well, because I know a lot of people have them, and I don't know how come. Like, I haven't seen no older ones. My aunt, even my aunt has a bunch of ones from CCA, and I like her and her friends. They used to all post like this, like they were bunnies or something. And I don't know if you remember this. What was her name? Now I'm gonna forget her name. But she was in a lot of my aunt's pictures. She was an old timer. But yeah, I've been waiting for a lot of more people to post more older pictures. You know what I mean? Because CCA's, it was, the pictures were so different. Do you know what I mean? Like it was such a different
Hmm.
experience. Like I used to be like, oh my
Yeah,
gosh, we have these pictures here.
yeah. At Western, they didn't really let us take pictures, so that's why I only have pictures from like I took a couple of those off of the actual DOC Facebook page, and then the pictures that I had from when we graduated college, they let us take pictures, so I have those.
Oh wow. They don't, so
But
they don't let them take pictures at Western? They don't have like pictures at all?
they were supposed to start like right before I got out, but then COVID happened, and then they did them a couple times, but I didn't get any done that last time.
Okay, and how much time did you do?
Okay, so my name's Ashley Hyland, and I did a little less than 8.5 years total out of all 3 times that I've been there.
Oh
So the
yeah.
first time I did 13 months, that was 2012 to 2013. I got out for 11 months, and then I went back for a little over 2 years. And then I got out again and picked up new charges and violated my parole, and I did a little over 5 because I had to kill my parole, and then I had a 10-year sentence that I did half time on.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, they got you. No, I'm just kidding. Like you know how sometimes they try to, they like the deal looks good, right? But then when we don't see it all the way through, it comes back to get us. No.
That's that's exactly what happened. It was my first time ever picking up a felony case, and
How
I had
come they didn't give you
trafficking.
a first time offender deal?
So okay, so they gave me 5 years probation with 12 years suspended. I did 4 years on probation and gave one dirty UA, and they gave me half my suspended time.
Oh wow.
And so then I messed, and so then I had 4 years credit from being on probation, and so I only had to do 2 years. I did a little less than, or I did a little bit more than half of that, and then when I got out, they gave me the other 6, and so I filed for pre-confinement pre-confinement time for the year that I was on house arrest, the time that I was out on paper again, between the 2 prison stays. So I did a little less. I did a little less than 3 years, so
Oh,
half
that's
of my
good.
6.
That's good. Yeah. Oh, well, that's good. Okay, so my first question is before your charges begin, what was your lifestyle like and what brought on your charges?
So I started using drugs and alcohol when I was 9. I was molested as a kid. My dad killed himself. I was kind of made fun of. I I used to pull out my hair when I was a little kid, so I had like bald spots. We were poor, so I had ugly clothes. I sounded like a boy because I have a deep voice. So people are, kids are mean,
Oh,
and I
kids
just
are
was shy
very
and kind
mean.
of I was just, like, shy and socially awkward, so I kinda didn't feel like I fit in, and then at a birthday party, they had aftershock and weed, and I was down to try whatever, and all of a sudden, I wasn't socially awkward, I was fun, and I was funny, and people liked me, so I started doing it all the time, every time I could at that age, and then, it just progressed. By the time I was a freshman in high school, I was doing coke and meth. Uh, if I was at school my sophomore, junior, and senior year, I either had alcohol in my backpack, cocaine, or meth in my pocket. Um, then the boyfriend that I had ended up getting arrested, and so I started selling drugs. And somebody told on me. I only had like 5 customers because I was trying to play it safe because I had a little girl at home, and it was a person that I had never even sold to that had told on me because I wouldn't sell her anything.
Oh yeah,
And they
that's how
believed
it
her because she's
happens.
told on so many. Yeah, they've told on her. She's told on so many people that they believed her, and they came and raided my house. Um, I
She
stayed in
made
jail
a
for a couple
false
weeks.
statement. I mean, like, well, but they didn't have a buy on you. They just told them, or she just told them, hey, she's selling or whatever.
She told them that she had been in my house and I had more than an ounce of cocaine, and she had never been in my house. She came and knocked on the door twice. Once she told me that she needed some money because her car had ran out of gas. And then another time she tried to use my phone. And I had seen her around and I wasn't sure if that's who she was, but come to find out that's who she was because I had sold some crack to a guy that I always sell to, and he shared it with her. And then he tried to call me and tell me it was candle wax, and I'm like, dude, I know it wasn't candle wax. I cooked my own crack. Like, I know that it wasn't candle wax. But whatever. Here, just come back. I'll give you $60 more. And then she
What?
called my phone. So, yeah, because I just don't want the
Bro,
problem. I
oh
had it.
my
So I was like,
gosh.
whatever.
No, because I used to sell drugs, and I had I don't want to go off on this drug thing, but this guy, actually, he was my wife's cousin, and he used to shoot up, right? He went and he
Mm.
came back 45 minutes later, and I'm all, 45 minutes? I was like, it took you 45 minutes to come back and say that my shit didn't clear your edit? I said, all right. I told my wife,
I
I said,
told him that.
here, go back. And I had my wife, and she went and she made it cleared, it did everything, and she shot it out of the thing. Well, because, like, you don't come saying that kind of stuff, like, you know what I mean? And
Yeah, it had
that's
been
how rats come in, though. Like, rats come in
yeah,
by other people. This is why when you have a tight circle and somebody shows up with somebody, they were gonna try to get a two-handed transaction on you with her through the guy. You know what I mean? Like, because you sold to him, she was giving information on that. Do you know what I mean?
hmm So when he told me that it was candle wax, I said, well, bring me your Brillo so I can see it then. And he's like, oh, I already threw it away. I said, well, get out of the trash and bring it to me. He said, oh, no. And I was like, you know what? Because I had a little girl at home. I didn't want problems. So I
Well,
said,
of course,
fine,
yeah.
I'll make it right. So I just gave him 3 more rocks. And then she had called my phone and she's like, I just with so and so, and we had just bought this from you and it's candle wax. I said, I already made that right. And she's like, well, I didn't get none of that. And I said, well, I'm sorry, but I already made it right. And then she's like, well, can I come over and get a taste right now? I was like, can I ask who I'm even speaking to? And so she told me her name, and I was like, oh man, I gotta go. And I hung up the phone and I turned my phone off. When I turned my phone on the next day, I was at JC Penney's getting some clothes for this pregnant girl. And she I listened to my voicemail. She had called me over and over again, and she had said, you better be at your house in the morning because I'll be over there. I got home, wasn't even home. My Connect showed up because I needed to re-up. My sister came to get my daughter. I hadn't even been home 10 minutes, and they're beating on my door with a search warrant.
Wow.
So, yeah, she lied. She had never even been in my house. But I mean, I had only been selling drugs for 3 months, dude. 3 months. I
Did
was
they
just new to
have
it. I was just trying to support my habit, you know, and pay
yeah,
my
yeah.
bills.
Hmm. So
But
when they
yeah,
raided you,
they charged me with.
I don't even like to go
Oh,
into
go
all
ahead.
that stuff, but I'm just curious. When they raided you, did they have like the sales on you, or what did they? What were their cause for the raid? Just
Because of a confidential informant.
wow.
She said she had been in my house and saw over an ounce of cocaine, which is a lie because I never had more than an ounce of cocaine in my house because I had my daughter there. And so we flushed 2 ounces down the toilet because my connect was there and he had a bunch on him because I lived in the projects and they didn't turn the water off. And so then I had my little tray that I would scrape my crack pipe on. I'd scrape all the resin and smoke it later. So I dumped that and I missed half of it. And I forgot about the 6 rocks I had in my purse. And then there was a pot on the stove that they said was warm and had water. So they tried to charge me with manufacturing, trafficking, child abuse, tampering with evidence, and conspiracy.
Yeah.
So we got the manufacturing tossed out because any pot that's sitting on the stove is going to stay warm because the pilot light's always on. That doesn't mean I just got done cooking crack.
Yeah.
But I was dumb and I didn't want my connects getting in trouble since they were there. So when they're all, what's that on the floor? I said, that's resin from my crack pipe. I'm a crackhead, you know, I'm taking the blame for everything. It's my house. And they're all, well, I don't know any crackhead that just has six crack rocks laying around. So I told them, well, you guys have been watching me. Obviously, you saw I just got home. I didn't have time to smoke them. And so I kind of screwed myself saying all that. But I had never been in trouble before besides like a DUI and, you know, minor allowing myself to be served, things like that. So it was my first felony case. I didn't know. So when they gave me that first plea deal, 5 years probation, 12 years suspended with a conditional discharge, I was like,
Dude,
heck
you
yeah, I
should
can
have
do that.
took
No
that
problem.
shit. Yeah, but you should have. I guarantee you, if you would have took that all the way to trial with a good attorney, they would have been able to throw out because of the informant was never in your house. They never had a sales on you. The warrant was basically like, oh, I've been an informant for years, and I'm gonna get credit by telling on this other person. Do you know what I mean?
Shoot,
Like,
what happened?
yeah. You got a raw deal, but but we won't go into all that. No. Oh, yeah, we are. Are you hearing me or are you paused? Are you paused or are you okay? Can you hear me? Oh, can you hear me? I can't hear you. I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Can you hear me? I can't hear you, friend. I can't hear you. Ashley, can you hear me? What's going on here? That's my favorite candy. If anybody ever wants to buy me candy, Jolly Ranchers. Just kidding. I'm so sure like everybody's gonna buy me candy. I want somebody to make me a birthday type cake with this cake one time. Maybe I'll do it.
Okay, is it better now?
Oh yes, I can hear you perfectly now.
Okay.
Sometimes
Okay.
for some
Sorry, I
reason,
just had to get out and get back out.
it's really strange because my mic, it'll say that I dropped the mic and I'm all talking and talking and I don't even know. And then everybody's like, we can't hear you. And I don't know. It just does it sometimes. It's just really strange. Okay. So my next question is, how did you feel when the judge sentenced you?
So I already kind of knew what was going to happen. I mean, I was worried because I was pregnant with my son at the time because I got pregnant while I was on house arrest. But so, I mean, I already signed the plea bargain, so I was pretty sure I wasn't going to prison. But when they sentenced me to prison too, you know, like after I got my dirty UA, and they read, because like my family just heard 12 years and then they all just started crying and I was, oh, there's a whole lot more, guys, you got to wait and listen. So when I was walking out, I told my family, it's like, it's not a big deal, it's just a year, you know, it'll be just a little over a year. But this last time when they sentenced me to 10 years, you know, all I could think of is I'm going to miss my daughter's high school graduation, I'm going to miss so much just being away from them. Like, prison time isn't hard for us, it's I mean, it's hard missing your kids and stuff, but it's harder on them. You know, if I didn't have any kids, it wouldn't have been a big deal.
That's right. I'm all physically and mentally, it feels like, hey, that's why we don't call home. Like I remember when I used to go, when I first got locked up, I used to call home a lot. Like I used to call home all kinds. Well, because my kids were small. My baby was only 5. She was little, you know, and I used to call home all the time. And then I just, at the end of my time, I think I called home like every 3 months. Well, because you don't want to hear what you're missing out on. First of all, it's hard because it's emotionally hard, and then you don't have the answers to say like, well, why are you not here? Or do you know what I mean? Like it becomes physically
Yeah.
hard. So that's why I didn't call home.
Well, when I was there the first time, that's when a 20-minute phone call was like $7, you know? So I would only call once a week, because that's really all I could afford. This last time I called a little bit more, but I really only talked to my oldest. My other two just really didn't want to have a lot to say to me. But when I got home, it was crazy because I left little kids and I came home to a 17-year-old, a 14-year-old, and a 13-year-old, you know, so they weren't kids anymore.
Right.
They're teenagers, and I was used to, like, it's weird, like when you're there you forget that they grow up, so when you're talking to them on the phone it's like you're still talking to a little kid, and then you come home and you're like, oh damn, what happened? They're not
You're
little
like, it's a
kids.
grown, it's almost an adult, right? A 17 year
Yeah.
old is like basically like a young adult, right? They're starting to like start life and like, yeah, that's, well, it's really crazy how we come out and we like time is we're robbed, you know, of all that time, but I don't know. Okay, so how did you mentally prepare yourself to go to prison, like to pull chain from county? Because you know how we sit in county. I don't know about you, but I sat in county for, well, because I was fighting my case. I fought my case for 2 years, and then I had my trial, and then I ended up going to prison anyways. No, so
Yeah, I mean, I heard all kinds of stories about there was blind spots in G Unit, and I was gonna get raped with a broomstick, and you know, all kinds of stuff.
you
And
did.
I've
What
never been
county
a
were
fighter.
you in?
Otero County. I mean, I got told all kinds of stuff. So I
Oh
mean, I was
yeah.
nervous when I got there my first time, but after being in RDC, I was like, okay, well, it's really. And then I was a little nervous about going to population just because, you know, I've never been a fighter, and I thought I was gonna need to be ready to fight, and it's not even like that.
No,
As
it's
long as
really.
you're not fucking somebody's girlfriend or doing their drugs, you're all right.
You're definitely right. I'm not just kidding. Oh my God, you're so cute. That's funny. You're right. No. Okay, when you arrived in RDC, how did you mentally prepare to go to, well, because like you've been sitting literally in county, like in my county, we barely have a rec room. We don't even really get to go to rec. Like there's no rec
Mhm.
for the ladies. Like I was like 215 pounds when I hit, like, you know, I think when I hit Grants County, or whatever the county is, Cibola County over there. And then I stayed over there so I lost a little bit of weight before I got there, but I was pretty heavy because you just sit, you're in county, right?
Yeah, well, I was, I was like a size 0 when I got to county. So, because I was pretty strung out on heroin and meth at this point. But when I got to RDC, they'd give you back then they gave you 2 slices of bread with every single meal. And
I
I was on the
know.
top tier, and I was getting everybody's bread that had been there and realized they're going to gain a lot of weight. So I was eating like a loaf of bread a day, and I
All the
gained a lot of weight.
bread.
But by the time I had been in RDC, I was ready to go to population because I had been there with people that had already been there, and they told you how much better it was. So I mean, I was just ready to go to population and start working, man, because you can only sleep so much when you're in RDC.
Yep.
And then you just read like a book a day, and you're just no TVs in your room. It was just hell back then. And
You're
in
literally
Grants, it wasn't so bad.
having karaoke contests with your bunkie because you have nothing better to do. No,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like there's nothing better to do. You're cleaning
yeah,
your room at 2 a.m. because there's nothing to do. You sleep all day and like you're like, oh well, let's just clean our room. Oh my
yeah.
god.
In grants, it's a little bit better because you're allowed out. You don't have cheer time, just everybody in the pod's allowed out. But they took commissary away from RDC. All they can get is hygiene unless their food sends them their family sends them those food packages.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, since when has that been?
They started that when I worked for commissary at Western about a year before I got out, and they had started doing that where you could only get hygiene and only like $10. So they have them like level 4s right now, except minus the food.
Wow. Why? Because and I feel like I don't know. It's
Because
really
they
hard to
say that's the way that they're paying for the drugs and stuff. They're trying to cut down on people, trading their commissary for drugs, I guess. But whatever, they're never gonna be able to
Oh,
stop that.
so the girls are just holding on to it till they come out of RDC. No, I'm just kidding. Well,
No,
because
I mean there's plenty of ways to get it out of RDC.
well, the porters go in there. Come on, like like they're not like
Oh, so let me just tell you, I worked
I know
passing
about the
out toilet
ponds.
paper.
No, I'm just kidding. Something about the pond. Because I never been there. I
Well,
don't really know how it works over there.
so I would do supplies on Sundays. So I have like hand-to-hand contact with RDC every Sunday, and I look pretty innocent, they didn't think anything of it. So, I mean, there's
You're
ways.
right.
And then
I'm
working
all
for commissary, there's ways.
I'm all RDCs where it's all at, bro, because that's anything coming in new to the prison, whether it being jewelry, whether it being I know because I was a jewelry dealer, smuggler. No, just kidding, because okay, no, because when I did county time, I did everything that there is to do. Probably 8 times, like literally, because I was in county so long. Like everything that there is to do.
Mhm.
You wanted somebody to bring in a drop. One of my people, I used to sell heroin. One of my people, my good customers that used to be able to walk to my door because I only had 5, just like you, that could walk to your door. Because if you have a small circle, you don't get caught, right? Well,
You're supposed to
my
not.
friend fell in for me 3 different times, and
Mhm.
like I did everything. So when I went to prison, I was like, I'm not doing nothing because I was afraid to lose my good time. Because in county, you're not getting good time. You don't have a record, like you know what I mean. So I was trying to be
Yeah.
good. So I smuggled a lot of jewelry, earrings. That any kind of post earring you could sell for $10. You know what I mean? So I smuggled in a lot of religious items, stuff, scapulars, probably like over 30 scapulars. And how sad I brought them in. I brought them in my purse. No, I'm just kidding. But we gotta do what we gotta do sometimes. But
Yeah.
Yeah, there. So I don't really know the rundown of how RDC works, but I just know my friend was telling me that something about the pond. She's like, I used to work at the
Yeah, there's the
pond, and I'm
pond
like, what does the pond have to do with anything? No, just kidding.
because RDC passes by. So there's the medical, there's the pond. You know, you could throw things. One of the RDC yards is kind of close to the other yard, so you just kind of tie it to a rock and throw it from one yard to the next. You know, it's not hard.
Right? I'm
I
all
mean, I
right.
even sent RDC coffee. We send them coffee because they're back there dying with no coffee, so we tie it to a rock and throw it over.
Poor thing, right? That's well because coffee is horrible. Some people are addicted to. Hey, they're addicted to coffee more than their drugs in jail. Well, because when you're locked up, a lot of people drink coffee instead of like
Yeah.
doing whatever they do, and that's their like that keeps them good. So when they go to RDC, they're like all like fiending for coffee. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. When you got to population, what type of programming did you participate in and at which facility? Oh, you were at Western.
So when I got to population in Western, I didn't really do any programs until like towards the end. That's when I did like IOP and RDAP. But I just needed to work and make money because my family doesn't help me at all when I'm in prison. So
So where did you work? You said you worked commissary, yeah?
so first I worked for the unit manager, like doing caustics, the chemicals, and then doing passing out toilet paper on Sundays to RDC. And then I worked as the unit manager clerk where I like clean their offices. Then I went to commissary, and then I was the GED instructor's aide.
Oh, that's good. That's a good job. I used to work education and I liked it. I used
Yeah,
to pull
it was
over.
real good when I was like go because I got my associate's degree while I was in there, so it was easy for me to do my schoolwork and then just stay there all day and do the tutor thing.
Oh, that's good. You got your associates while you were in there. That's amazing. That's something
Yeah.
really like to be proud of because you don't hear that all the time. Because were you allowed to get fast food to pay for your classes and stuff?
So we filled out a FAFSA form, but I mean, we didn't like get any money, but our classes were paid for.
Yes.
But they had
That's
limited
good.
it to how many classes we could take a semester. But when I was leaving, after I got my associate's degree, they changed it to where you could take more than 2 classes because before it was only you could take 2 classes a semester. And it's going to take you like 8 years to get an associate's degree at that rate. Luckily,
Damn.
I already had half of the credits that I needed when I got there. So
Oh,
I only needed
that's
just a
good.
few credits to finish.
Wow, that's good. Well, because at Springer you could only take one class a semester.
That's supposed to have changed. They were making a change to the well, I know it changed before I left because some of the girls over at Springer were taking like 4 or 5 classes.
Oh, well, that's good. Well,
They got
because I don't know. You know what I mean? When I was there, that's what it was. Because my friend Bonnie used to take
oh yeah.
classes. That's the only reason I know. And they
Yeah.
don't have like a lot of classes. They don't have a lot of how do I want to say instructors
They
that
don't
want to help.
yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah, and they
facilitate
don't
what
offer the
you.
classes.
Yes, yes. So
Hmm.
I don't know. Yeah, but so that's really good to hear that it's getting better, that the education is getting better. Okay.
Yeah, and they're supposed to be getting rid of that rule for clear conduct too. As long like because I got in a fight while I was in school right before I got my associate's degree and I thought I was going to get kicked out and they just do it by case basis and mostly if it doesn't have to do with drugs and it didn't happen in education, they can try and let you stay in education, but it's like a case by case basis now.
Oh, that's good. I'm all well that they're doing
Yeah.
it like that, that there's not just like that. What do you call it? Whole just one rule, right, for everybody because I
Yeah.
feel like it should be a case by case situation.
Yeah,
Um,
like if you're in education, you're less likely to get into more trouble anyways because you're busy and you're not in the pod just staring at everybody all the time.
I know, right? Idle hands, no.
Yeah.
Did you develop any mental health issues while being incarcerated? For example, like institutionalized habits, PTSD, or any others?
I mean, like when I got out this last time, the other times when I got out, since I just did a short amount of time, like when I would go to Walmart, I would be like smelling everything, wanting new stuff. When I got out this time, I had so much anxiety in the store. I got a lot of the same stuff I was using in prison because I knew it worked and I just wanted to get out of there. Um, you know, but I mean, I think I adjusted pretty quickly when I got out. It wasn't as bad as before. Or it wasn't as bad as like some other people. I know they'd be out for a long time, still have those things. But I mean, I used to try and take my toilet paper with me to the bathroom, still waking up thinking that you hear count time come in. But
I have that bad
after a few
habit with
I was
the toilet paper. I can
yeah,
still do the toilet paper thing just because it was a habit, right? Like I take it to my
yeah,
bed. I'm like, oh, what am I doing? Like I have to. I don't know. It's like it's a weird thing, right? Little
yeah.
things that you don't think you're doing, but you're doing.
Hmm.
Okay. How did your addiction habits affect you while you were incarcerated, past and present, if you have any?
Um, I mean, I pretty much the first time I was there, I didn't touch anything. The second time, I wasn't really in the mix that much, just because I just I mean, I kind of kept to myself. I didn't know a lot of people. But I would do it whenever I could get it. And then this last time, I pretty much stayed strung out the whole time I was there on Suboxone.
I know somebody told me that there was more drugs in there now. Well, that there, even one of the girls that did a podcast previously, she told me that she got strung out on fentanyl in there. And I was so shocked because I was like, how the fuck do you get strung out on fentanyl well, because I didn't know that there was fentanyl in the prisons. Well, because I don't even know what's going on now. I haven't been there for over 3 years, and you know what I mean? So I don't know what's going on, but how is there so much? You know what I mean? And I don't, it's, yeah, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah,
But I know because when I was in county, my county had a lot of drugs. I was like, dang, there's more drugs in here than there is on the streets. No, just kidding. Well, because you know what I mean.
yeah.
You can get anything. Like you can get all kinds of drugs. It's really crazy. But yeah. Mm. How did your incarceration affect your family or your loved ones?
They didn't want to trust me when I got home. My youngest posted something on Snapchat because I didn't see her the first day I got out. It was a couple days before I saw her, and then she like posted something on Snapchat of her crying and how it didn't even seem real because she hadn't seen me in so long and she was so little when I left.
Oh,
Um, yeah, I missed out. I missed out on a lot. I mean, my family was happy to have me home this time, until I messed up, of course. But I had a little 6-month period there where I was strung out on fentanyl, but I went to rehab. I'm doing good now. You know, I think my relationship with my kids is better now than it was when I first came home because they see me putting in the work that I need to do. Last time I just came home and just kind of white knuckled it. I wasn't doing anything that I needed to do to stay sober. And now I am like I've got a good support system. I've got sober friends. I'm not out there trying to hang out with my old friends, thinking that I'm not going to end up getting high because now I know better. Can't hang out
that's
with those people
good.
or I'm going to end up getting high. And I just
That's
have no desire to go back to prison. Like I've missed enough. I'm too old for this shit.
That's good. That's very good because I feel like you're right. It gets to a point you're like, I'm too old for this shit. Exactly what you said. And that's for
Yeah.
all of us, it's not just for you, for all of us. We have to get to that point, right, in our lives where we're like, we're too old for this.
Yeah.
Okay. During your prison stay, did you ever experience an act of violence, and how did it affect your mental health. I mean, like, did you ever see somebody get assaulted? I've seen somebody hit with a lock. Like, I've seen some crazy shit. Like, you know what I mean? You were locked up. You at the CCA, you know, at CCA, they do crazy stuff. But when
Yeah.
you were locked up.
Yeah, I mean, I saw a lot of fights. I mean, I remember that one girl that fell in G5 on New Year's Eve, and it tried to roll the bump out with a can of soda or something, and then it pushed. Like, head wounds are they're supposed to swell out, and when they pushed it in, it put pressure on her brain, and then she ended up
That's
at
what made her
North
get a
Lunas.
seizure. Hey,
Yeah,
I didn't know she fell. I thought she got in a fight.
she did get in a fight. So she's the one that called Stephanie back there. Like, she
Which
called Stephanie
Stephanie?
out, and Stephanie Blake. And she called her back there. So Stephanie went back there, and I guess that other girl slipped in the water and hit her head on the sink. So they were trying to blame Stephanie and charge her with it because they said that it was Stephanie's fault, and it wasn't. That girl called her out, and she slipped and fell. It's not like Stephanie beat her until she had pressure on her brain.
No, when they tried to rub it out with the Coke, because I had heard that
Yeah.
story too. I was there, I remember, but I just remember physically because I was in F unit, and I remember being locked down, and I remember all that because it was like, wasn't it for New Year's?
Yeah, it was New Year's Eve.
Yeah, that's so crazy, right? Hey, I think that's when the CCA started noticing that they had level fours with population and because they were at risk of being sued. Do you know what I mean? Like they started
Yeah.
that's when they started trying to reclassify us and only have, because level fours were classified totally different then. Do you remember? They were kept in A unit.
Mm-hmm.
And they had 2 level fours for them. And before it wasn't like that. And level fours used to
Yeah.
come up from level fours and they would be with us in population.
Mm-hmm. They had just everybody mixed up. They didn't even care.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's against the law. Did you know? That's against the law.
Yeah.
I'm all,
Mm-hmm.
I'm all like I'm an attorney or something. No.
Well, we learn a lot in there. That's for sure. We could all be lawyers now.
Well, I had to fight a bunch of write-ups because I got written up. Miss Howard, the librarian, she didn't like me. And one time, I was my friend Essence. She's from my county. I used to call her my sister, and she was laying on my bed, and we were playing, right? And Miss Howard literally tried to say that I was eating my sister out on my bed in B unit. I'm like, oh no, you better roll the tape, honey. Well, because come on, man, if a cop is gonna accuse you of something like that, there better be proof. And they reviewed the tapes, and I got off on those write-ups, and I was like, I can't believe that someone could lie on you like that. Do you know what I mean? Just because they don't like you or because they read your crime and they think they want you to be guilty. Do you know what I mean? Just like a lot, and mine was a high profile case and a high profile crime. That's the only reason I say that. And that's the only reason I could think why the librarian didn't like me. And I had that during my whole stay when I was locked up. The 2 female COs at the county jail where I was housed, they tried to get me moved out of there. Well, they moved me all the way down to where our county jail is at. It's 45 minutes from town. So by the time we got to the sheriff's office, picking up other people to transport to Gallup, the warden was at the jail, and he was all, I don't have, and I was all being nosy. I'm all going like this, and he's all, you don't have authorization to move Montoya. You don't, and I was all Montoya. I was the only one in the van named Montoya, so I knew he was talking about me. Okay, so when we got down, I needed to pee, and I got down. And for some reason, I was like, my shackle went free and it went loose, and I was all, I was all laughing at her. But she had to tie it again, right? And I had a Tums in my bra, and the Tums fell out, and she was all, oh, right on. She thought it was a Suboxone. I said, it's a Tums, you idiot. I said, we get those on Medline. Well, because they're always trying to charge you with something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of
Well, they
course.
had to take me back just because they didn't like me. You know what I mean? And that hold was there specifically because my birth mom had went to the senator and told them that they wanted me housed closer so that they could see me and see my kids. And my mom knew a senator, and they got that request. And what you call it, the ladies did not know that they didn't have authorization to move me. So I had a lot of stuff happen to me during my incarceration like that, like with Miss Howard. And I just feel like
Mhm.
people can't judge a book by its cover. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else you wish to share about your experience?
I don't really think so.
I just met some good, well, because I feel like we meet a lot of good people, you know what I mean? Like when
You
we're in
do
there,
you do meet a
we
lot of
meet
good people in
people
there.
that are real, like because sometimes you don't have family members, or you don't have like all the time, and you become like family with certain people, or you know what I mean? Like certain people that you're friends with or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, you meet a lot of good people in there, and everyone thinks everyone in prison's a bad person, and we're not. We just do some fucked up shit. But I met some of my best friends in there. It just sucks to leave them behind, though. I mean, it was hard for me to leave this time. Like, I wanted to go to be with my kids, but it was hard to leave my friends. It was like
I know.
bittersweet, because especially the ones that ain't getting out.
I know the ones that are doing a lot of time, the ones that are doing, yeah, that's really hard. Um, Tell the viewers a message or advice to any person that is transitioning back into society that thinks that they can't make it, or like your former self, like a message that you would want to give your former self. That's what I always tell people.
Well, it's kind of, they always say that when you get out of prison, you can't get a job, you can't do this, you can't do that. And that's a lie. Like, I have my license to sell insurance, and I'm a convicted felon, you could still do almost anything you want. Now, you can't be like a doctor, things like that, but you just got to go to school and get the education to do what you want to do, and the doors will open for you. It's just like being in sales. You just got to sell yourself no matter what. Everybody has a past. And like, that's what my boss told me. She said, Ashley, everybody has a past. Some of us just didn't get caught, and if they can tell that you're a good person, they're going to give you a chance, and just don't give up, because missing out on all the years that we've missed out on is enough already. Like, just do what you got to do to stay out. The POs, you just go in there. You don't have to kiss their ass, but you just be respectful. Yes, sir. No, sir. It's not that hard. As long as you're not getting high, it's really not that hard to make it on parole. It's not as hard as everyone makes it seem. So, they talk so much shit. You get out with a negative attitude, and then you go in there negative, and it's just not going to work out for you. You just got to focus on what you want to do, and make it happen.
Oh, that's a great message. That's a really great message, because I feel like a lot of people, we have such a negative, like a lot of feedback, and I had a hard time getting a job, but I got a job through a word of mouth. Like I had to sell
Exactly.
myself. Exactly what you just said. That's what you have to do. You have to put yourself out there to the other people. I'm a jewelry maker, and I went to an event, and I met this lady that sells paparazzi, who I call my mother now, because she adopted me, and literally around the roundhouse, because that's where she worked. She worked at the roundhouse in enrolling and engrossing, and she said, I want you to come work for me on my crew. And I said, oh, okay. Well, because we were laughing and having joking around, and she's all, oh, you're a good people person. She goes, you'll do good on the job. And I said, oh, okay. I told her. So then she said, come to the interview. And this is how God works. Just how you said, how he opens the doors for you. Okay. So I got the interview because of my mom, and I missed that round of interviews to work for her. And I got to work for the chief clerk of New Mexico, Sherry D. Lujan, and she would call me her bodyguard because that's how I got the job, because I was so personable. She goes, "You could be my bodyguard," and she's like, I would tell her, just point them out in the parking garage, Sherry. And she thought I was joking, but I was really serious. She was laughing about it, but I was being serious, you know. Well, because
Yeah, like
as the people we are, like, we're like more serious about that. Do you know what I mean? And I was like, well, if someone
yeah,
messes with you, tell me who it is. Do you know what I mean? And she was like, okay. And she thought it was a joke, but that was our inside joke. I was Sherry D. Lujan's bodyguard, and that was through an opportunity that I put myself out there. You know what I mean? I would have never gotten
yeah,
that opportunity if I hadn't opened my mouth and said, "Hey, well, I'm looking for a job," and then this wonderful lady gave me a job opportunity, and then like, that's how God works. He put those things in motion. So that was a very,
yeah.
very great message. I'm so
Like when
grateful
you
for
first get
you.
out,
Yeah.
you can't be picky. You're just gonna, apply. It might be fast food, but that's just temporary. You have to get a job because parole wants you to. But when you work in places like that, you get the connections of ways to move up. So you gotta start, and don't be too picky, and eventually it'll work out for you. So
That's the greatest advice that I think I've heard so far. Well, because I feel like you have to start somewhere. It doesn't matter where it's at. If it's fast food, it doesn't matter if it's wherever. As long as you start somewhere and you're willing to make that start. And
yeah,
I feel like that's a great message. I'm so grateful to you. I'm very proud of you and all the strides that you're making in your life and your sobriety, especially. I'm very proud that you have been sober how long?
I actually got my 3 month chip today. So, because I had that relapse, and then I got out of rehab, and then I relapsed one more time. But so today I actually got my 3rd month chip. So, but I'm working my steps, and I'm actually doing the work this time. And, every other time I've got sober, I still had reservations of to reasons why I would use again. And I really don't have them this time. And life has just changed so much now that I just couldn't find a reason to go back. I always said, like, something happened to one of my kids, I would go back, but for what? So then will be taken away from my other kids, you know? Like I've got friends and tools to use to where I don't have to relapse ever again.
That's great. I'm so proud of you. And even though that you relaxed and you're 3 months clean, that 3 months clean is something to be very, very proud of, because you could have just been like, I'm not going to do this or whatever, and just keep continuing to work your steps. And when you need somebody, lean on somebody for support, because I think us as people coming out of abusive situations, trauma, prison, whatever, we want to think that we can deal with anything, we could handle everything, and we're just gonna do and do and do, and if you need help, ask for it. You know what I mean? I think that I wish somebody would have told me that advice a couple years ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because sometimes if we could ask for help, and maybe we could get it, you know what I mean, and then the bad things don't happen. But always I encourage people, if you need help, ask for it. And you're doing an
Right.
amazing job. I'm very proud of you. I'm very grateful to you for being on the podcast. I always tell people that I learn something every time that I do a podcast, because I see a different perspective of the way that we're locked up. Do you know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
always learn something out of the podcast. So that's why I'm so passionate about it. And I feel like this is my lot in life now. Well, because
Yeah.
I feel like our testimonies, even if we can help just one person, one person that
Mhm.
thinks like, hey, we can't make it, and they just want to give it all up and they're gonna commit suicide, or they're gonna go use drugs, or they're gonna go back to prison. Like, that's what we don't want. And that's why this platform is so important, for our people to know that we have a safe space to be able to talk to each other. If we don't have family, like I don't have family, and that's why I created this, because I wanted a way to be able to have people to lean on, to be able, for myself. And I've been very grateful to be able to have people like you guys, to be able to, if I ever needed somebody, I'd be like, hey, I'm gonna hit up Ashley, because I know she's not gonna tell me not to use drugs. No, you know?
Yeah.
Well, because that's what it's about. You know what I mean? Is holding each other accountable, holding one another
Mhm.
accountable. And I'm very grateful for you coming on and telling us about your story, and um, us sharing in your celebrating your sobriety.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you. So
You're
anytime that you
welcome.
want to come on, you can come on and ask questions or anything. We usually have podcasts twice a week, but I know you're very busy. So anytime that you want to come on, feel free, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you. Signing off,
Thank
guys.
you. Bye.
Bye.